Miloš Kareš was a Czech journalist, editor, translator and dramaturgist. Born in 1891 in Prague, he studied at gymnasiums at Příbram and Královské Vinohrady before obtaining a philosophy degree at the Faculty of Arts at Charles University in Prague in 1922. He served as a journalist on the Tribune and as a freelancer between 1919 and 1922, before moving on to a position in the press department of the Council of Ministries, where he remained until 1930. In 1926 he joined the Radio Journal radio station, the first radio station in Czechoslovakia, operational since 1923. In 1927 he became program director for the radio, being instrumental in the establishment of radio dramatizations. He remained at the radio even after Nazi takeover of Czechoslovakia until being let go in 1942. He died in Prague in 1944. His 1942 The Magic Mirror was his only published original work. It is a collection of two novels, The Magic Mirror and The Lady from the Painting. In the first, the story begins in Prague, with Simon Lom returning to the city whence his forebears came from. A pawnshop owner forces onto him an old mirror which he claims to be magic, fashioned by John Dee when he was head alchemist to Emperor Rudolf II. When Simon takes it home, nothing happens until late one night when he looks at the mirror's surface and sees himself not as he is, but as a cavalier of the 16th century. Then he loses his self-consciousness and lives through the life of Simon Lom, when he is walking on the Charles Bridge one night and espies a Spanish noble aiding his rogue friend in pursuing a girl on the bridge. Simon tries to aid her, but, frightened by his sudden approach, she jumps off the Charles Bridge to avoid disgrace. This greatly affects Simon and he mourns for her death, though he had never met her. Later on, Simon, a noted poet, gains admittance to the royal castle and sees all the art collected for alchemist Emperor Rudolf II from all over Europe, and also meets Katharina Strada, the emperor's capricious mistress. He falls in love with her, but he is only a distraction for her and is chucked overboard when they almost get caught. But from the castle he falls into drink due to her betrayal. He leads an unworthy existence until he and his comrades almost chuck an old ferryman into the river. They are stopped by the man's daughter, and Simon recognizes the woman from the bridge whose death he had been lamenting all the while. However, the woman is not really the old man's daughter, and it is revealed that the man who tried to disgrace her on the bridge was the powerful alchemist Edward Kelly, who conspires to bring Simon to his death by beheading, which Simon manages to win pardon from the capricious ruler by reciting a moving song on the gallows. The story returns to present day, and it seems to play out in parallel to the story from 16th century Prague. One day Simon Lom meets a lady at the theatre, falls for her charms, and accepts the position of her piano teacher in her distant hometown. However, the woman is being courted by a certain Merhout, a cruel and unscrupulous businessman who has the whole region under his thumb. Again, Simon gets used as a distraction by the woman and gets cast over so she can marry Merhout, having to leave both her and Merhout's niece, Aneška, who he was giving music lessons to as well. Simon, however, soon gets famous as a composer and author of film soundtracks, and just then meets Aneška as a poor homeless woman who was cast out after the bankruptcy and death of her uncle. The two confess their love to each other, and Simon burns the letter from the other woman, now Merhout's widow, while also smashing the magic mirror by accident. The first story is entertaining, though the Renaissance part is much more exciting than the modern-day segment, which also has a few plot holes here and there. It is implied at one point that Merhout started his fortune by depriving his niece of her inheritance, but this is never brought up again. The ending is fine enough, but I feel most would prefer stories of alchemists and magic mirrors over the life story of a man composing film soundtracks. The Lady from the Painting is a slight affair. A man visiting his friend's castle for a hunting trip sees a woman in medieval dress come down from a painting in his room, who then proceeds to tell him how she had unjustly persecuted the rather notorious adventurer Mikuláš Dačický z Heslova, who was imprisoned for many years after having murdered her husband. The story is a lot more limited in scope than the previous, since it concerns a real historical person, whose autobiography Kareš used as a source, and thus he can't really do much beyond what the records show. The only fantastical element is the lady climbing out of a picture frame. Curiously, Emperor Rudolf is the sovereign deciding Dačický's fate, but unlike in the magic mirror, he never shows up in the story at all, and we only get second-hand reports of the orders and decisions he had made dealing with the case. Kareš's work is certainly interesting, and it's a shame he didn't have time to write any more, as he died 2 years after this book came out.